In this situation, Booth stops to make a speech? You have to be kidding me. He stops to speak Latin, quoting Brutus from Julius Caesar? You have to be kidding me. And where were Lincoln's guards? In the lobby getting milk duds. Do you really think the president traveled in public during the Civil War without guards? Come on. No one but an idiot would buy this story. This reads like a bad script, not like real history. Things happen like this only when they are staged. That's the presidential box at Ford's Theater. As you can see, the box is actually on stage itself. Most of the 1,700 people in the auditorium would be able to see right into the box. They would have seen any struggle in that box immediately. So the idea that Booth could jump down on stage before anyone in the audience realized what was happening is absurd. Another problem is that the theater has been renovated many times, and that the stage is actually higher now than it was then. See how the stage is well above the first level of seating? This should look odd, since the highest paying viewers would have to look up at the performance. For those in the front rows, any performance near the rear of the deep stage would be partially blocked. This was caused by the raising of the stage. But why was the stage raised? Because it lessened the height from which Booth appeared to jump. Most sources try to minimize the height to this day. Although Whitman admitted it was as much as 15 feet, most sources try to sell you 10 or 12 feet. The truth is, the height from the railing was closer to 18 feet, given the original stage. Have you ever jumped down from 18 feet onto a hard surface? You don't want to do it. You really don't want to do it with a large knife in your hand, have to give a speech, and then run from a mob out the back door. You would have to run with more than a broken fibula, most likely. You would be running with 2 broken feet. We find more confirmation of all this when we look at what happened to Ford's Theater right after the assassination. From Wikipedia, following the assassination, the United States government appropriated the theater, with Congress paying Ford $100,000 in compensation, and an order was issued forever prohibiting its use as a place of public amusement. Between 1866 and 1887, the theater was taken over by the U.S. military and served as a facility for the War Department. That should look familiar, given what we know of more recent manufactured events. Remember how they closed, tore down, or confiscated all the crime scenes after 9/11? Remember how they tore down Sandy Hook Elementary after the alleged shootings? This is how it is done, and it is, and always has been, a sign of a staged event. The best way to deter any private or real investigation is to close or destroy the crime scene. In the Lincoln Assassination story, they did both. First, they closed it, then bought it, then renovated it many times. This all but prevented any later analysis. Which brings us to the next question no one ever asks. Why wasn't Booth fighting in the war? You will say the war was mostly over by 1865, but I mean from 1860 to 1864. Why wasn't Booth fighting for the South if he was so pro-Confederate? An even better question is this. If he was in his 20s and living in the North and able-bodied, why wasn't he drafted for the North? Do you think actors were given exemptions? They weren't.